or it's already on live. So hi everyone, and welcome to the second Node Advisory Board meeting. This is our 30-minute public session. We're starting at 12:20 Eastern. I believe that's 9:20 Pacific time. I don't know if we're in standard time or daylight time anymore, so there's that. I'm Chris Williams. We're creating a phone bridge, and that's who you hear in the background right now. Want to go around and have everyone roll call or introduce themselves. Just name is sufficient, I think, at this point, because we've had the previous meeting. So I'm going to pass the baton over to whoever. Let's go through the Joyent office first.
All right, I'll start. I'm Scott.
Angel.
Isaac.
TJ Fontaine, somewhere.
TJ, are you the last one in there?
Yep, I'm in.
Okay. And then going through the Hangout, just somebody speak up, and then we'll go through there.
Kian Almadine.
That didn't work. All right, Kian, thank you.
Scott Decker.
Eric Toth.
Greg Butler.
Todd.
Dennis Cooper.
All right, and I believe that is everyone. Janugo, you, not to out you, but you're in there too. I don't know if you spoke over someone else, Janugo, as well, and I think we have enumerated everyone. Excellent. This calls to order our second meeting. First thing on the agenda is to review the meeting minutes from the previous discussion. Meeting minutes for this discussion, these are the advisory board minutes that I believe we all have reviewed at this point. If anyone has not, please make it known. I'd like to go through them really quickly and make sure that we all agree to those meeting minutes as the previous meeting minutes, and if there's anything that should be added, please make it known at this point. The meeting was called to order. Last time we had Trevor, Kian, Isaac Roth, Chris Santamont, Bert Belder, Denise Cooper, Todd, Janugo, Dan, TJ, Scott, Kevin, Eric, Isaac Schluter, and myself. If anyone is here that wasn't called from the last one, please let me know. We discussed the advisory board function and operation. We made a clear difference in distinguishing between the interim, which is the current this group assembled, and the standard or the future advisory board and roles. That this is a bootstrap effort, that this group is not necessarily the long-lasting team, that it is a team that will be helping to bootstrap and enumerate that long-lasting team and to get it as quickly to the point of standard as possible, basically working to remove ourselves from this position, or better said, working to remove ourselves from this position unless we are elected again or whatever the processes are. It was made known that this function of the bootstrapping does not necessarily properly represent all of the Node community. That is a thing that the interim board has made known, that is noted for the standard to be modeled better and more inclusively for the final or stable board of advisors. It was decided that the meeting times would be bi-weekly with a doodle sent out immediately after each meeting to identify the next meeting time that lines up with the most amount of people. That is how we convened this meeting. That the final or stable board of advisors would be convened monthly. Governance structure, there was a proposal put out from Scott as to how the advisory board should operate. Then there was a discussion that we need to, in order to define the structure, we need to more appropriately evaluate and determine the different groups and the stakeholders that are enumerated and what their responsibilities are, who their constituencies are, and what they are part of. That would be the Node project team, also generally called core team, the Joyent company, the advisory board this group assembled, and Node users and the broader community. In identifying the stakeholders, there's also the roles and responsibilities that cover or that we enumerated during the discussion of organizational structure and governance, project leadership, product management, providing roadmap input, defining the roadmap, and then the technical contributions within that. Left is action items that I'd like to recap and find status on. In this point, I'm going to open to describe the action item outcomes. Working group to work through project staffing needs and project technical governances. TJ was identified as the responsible party. Can we get a status update, TJ, about that?
The repository hasn't been yet created, and I personally did not get much progress done on that part of it. I was looking to do further effort on that immediately after the meeting today.
Okay. That effort, can you describe that a little bit, just so that way everyone's aware?
Isaac Schluter and sent out an email after the last meeting with links to the relevant discussions to bootstrap into the conversation. And then we're going to use that. We're going to create a GitHub repository for that, and then add all of the relevant parties, but it'd be a public repository, and then start issues around each relevant working group that happens. My one follow-up question after the conversation, after thinking about it first, you should reach out to Felix and grab the Node.js organization for GitHub and put the advisory board repository under that organization.
Does anyone have any opinion about that other than TJ? Is that an agreeable sort of thing?
I don't know if we should move. I don't know if we should. We're still in old business if this would be new business. But
Yeah, I mean, we do already have an organization in place. Last time we said we set up a new. All right.
Can you all speak a little bit louder towards the microphone?
Whether that's the right name.
We can very easily move it from Node Forward to Node.js, and that'll maintain all of the history of the discussion. It does seem a little bit counterproductive to throw away the discussion.
The question is what's the name of that repository? Not, do we incorporate that? So, are you in agreement that Node.js and
that Node.js is a great name for Node? Okay.
Right.
All right. So go ahead.
okay.
Okay, that.
Feedback. Last night I saw there's a discussion on that. Probably move that to that structure.
Do a GitHub issue,
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want
Okay.
the other part of that question is, do you want me to bootstrap that into there, or do you guys want to comment from your own handles from that?
What do you mean?
Like
you
just
over
copy it over, or like either at Isaac's comments, either Scott's comments. I can preserve all of the format, and that's not.
Yeah, I don't know. You can reference it with.
Yeah.
Why don't we table this discussion till the later part? But the main core here is that the discussions will be happening in a GitHub repository as the center point of communication, and that needs to be set up shortly after this call. Correct?
Correct.
Okay, and we're going to be utilizing the wiki for that, and that Daniel, you had mentioned that you would be point of contact, the person responsible for creating a proposal of how to include community participation.
Great. So, I've been conducting a bunch of interviews with other communities and individuals who have gone through the process of doing that community representation. We have an interesting challenge where the corporate model is very easily sort of defined as there's a corporate entity and then you have representatives in that corporation that can participate and they can be in a way interchangeable. There's a primary representative, but if someone needs to step in for a corporation and represent the interests of that corporation, there's the opportunity to. The community model lends itself a little bit more to having elected individuals and the key things that we need to do are make sure that, that we encourage and build for participation. So in the new Node.js repo, whether it's separate project or as part of whatever the repo is, an issue in that plan is to present to the community as an item of discussion how to best represent the interests of the community. If you break it down, break the community down like corporations and have a representation model, there are some challenges. What represents the majority? What is that? Is extraordinarily amorphous. And then once you go out of that majority, you get into slightly easier definitions of front end, build tools, node bots, enterprise users.
So one problem with that is front end is much bigger than right? Node bots gets a lot more press, but overwhelming, most people using Node are either front end tooling or not for web.
Right. So there's two segments of quote unquote Node users and front end users are fairly easy to identify. Then you get into these those 4 seats for the community. Those two communities are fairly easy to find, and then you also get kind of the forward-looking JS folks where you have their ES6 and 7 innovators and generators representation. So building out that effective representation and allowing it to evolve over time. Because if we hadn't, if we were to take this 3 years ago and say, what is the representation model, front end would not have been in the same level of relevance.
It would have been almost immediately.
I can't really hear you guys in the joint office.
With hearing, so the question: do we want to try and do the video only with the call-in bridge, and someone else put the speaker up to the computer, or what, Chris?
I mean, this is a tricky question. I could do it. I could try it this way. Can someone who's on the call-in bridge talk?
Okay, so I have the bridge open.
That I think I can make this work. Hold on.
Okay.
How's that?
Sounds good by me.
Great.
So
is it worth me repeating any of that, or can we move on?
I would say that it's just a quick review.
Okay. So in summary, we're going to add to a new project or an issue on the Node.js sort of open discussion forum, how to have effective representation and ensure we have active participation in that. And Node was created and built in the open with that open user community. So that's the foundation of how we got here today.
So,
making sure that we have that representation, that community voice, first and foremost, is in my mind almost more important than the corporate representation.
I agree, and I've got this website that a lot of Node people go to. We could reach about 1 million people a month that are all Node users. There's no other reason to go to npmjs.org. Why don't we just solicit people to volunteer to be that representative and then have people vote on them? It worked really well for the WCAG or whatever, the W3 tag. I get all same thing, basically, w3.org, like, had a little banner on each page saying, go vote for your tag members.
Or you can do that on Node.js or Node.
Yeah.
So,
We get a lot more traffic than Node.js.
yeah.
Well,
so
maybe
but we
drive,
can drive traffic.
from one location to another location.
Yeah, sure.
But
But I mean, as far as, so the problem, part of the problem is identity, right? Like, it's very easy to stuff ballots. I'm going to pick my friend and just write a Node program that votes 1 million times. If we say, you know, you have it with your NPM account or something like that.
Or the GitHub, or your GitHub account.
Sure, but a lot of people on GitHub are not Node users.
Are they potential users that could be part of the community?
There's a lot of people out on the street that are potential users.
Discussions, right. There's a reasonable discussion, discussion point for doing that. I would like to recognize you know, the work that NPM's been doing to identify ecosystems. That ecosystems could be the representation map, or we could utilize that as an indicator for the representation map. So
yeah, I think basically anybody who's going to get elected by the community is going to have to represent this, right? I mean, that's the point of representative democracy. You're not going to be able to get those votes unless you can tell them.
My only concern with that, speaking as a moderator, enumerating the group right here, is a single individual sufficient to field all of the input from the community?
Absolutely not.
no, right.
So we had 4.
Yeah.
There are 4.
Single
Right.
individual is, I think even 4 is a little bit too low, but
But it's the whole board is responsible for this, right? That this is just 4 people who are have specific sort of subcommunity.
And
We're
have the
all
mailing
responsible,
lists,
and I think it's important that we're all responsible, right? We don't want just as much as we don't want everything to be run by Node Source's clients, we don't want everything to be run by the robot people either.
Yeah.
Right?
And I think it's an important mandate to establish that the participants are, you know, expected to represent the broader community and elicit that feedback and bring that into the story, not to monofocus on a single topic. That's,
What about geography? So ecosystems is one slice. What about geography? Is it important to have representation from different countries?
Yeah, it is, and it's going to make it tricky for them to dial into a call. Already just coordinating Europe and California is really tricky. I think this is one of the reasons why a lot of these kinds of things you want to break into working groups and have this discussion online and then right? We're not going to get representation from the folks in Tokyo, Korea, and Australia here on a phone call.
So I think before we put out a general call for
the model around geolocation is a lot harder.
Yeah.
Yes.
yeah. So I think before we put out a general call for participation, we should establish what.
If Denise is talking on the Hangout, we're not hearing her on the call inside.
Oh, interesting.
I can't, because then we'll get
Hold on, I can fix it. Hold on. Or should I do it?
It's working really, so I can hear pretty well on the call.
Denise, correct?
Yeah, what I'm doing is putting it into the chat.
Yeah, we can't hear Denise at all.
We cannot hear Denise at all.
All right, I can call into a number.
Okay, we got it now. We have it on the Hangout.
You got it now? So I was saying before we send out a general call for participation, we should be real clear about what it is we're asking for. So things like ability to participate should be part of their consideration before they say that they want to be on it. And it's always a fact of these open source boards that somebody's inconvenienced. We can move the meeting time around to try to create equal inconvenience for everybody at different times. But it's always inconvenient for somebody. It's just the way it is.
Right, and the fact that the ecosystems can map to potentially having interchangeable individuals. So, for example, maybe Tom Dale can't come to the front end thing. We have Brian Ford come in and represent that. It's the community lends itself a little bit more to an individual, but it'd be interesting and I think effective to get to a broader representation model there, so that these ecosystems could make sure that they are maintaining their voice and have that representation always on the table. It's really an alternate.
In terms of moderation, is there a CPA or only working group to establish something either the next one or the fourth community representatives, or what's the
So the next step, we're waiting on the repo to present that to the community. So I would like that definition to come out of a community voice rather than it to be perceived as a corporate group defining how the community should exist.
And then do you have a recommendation of how you're going to do? Is there some consideration process in that? Just telling the animation out that.
Repo, issues, discussion, consensus, resolution.
Okay. Is there a working group that is capable that is drive that resolution, or is it the broad community in general?
I think we need specific.
Do we need a working group around? So I volunteered to sort of begin doing research and kick off the discussion. Should we build a working group around what I've been doing to have more participation in that?
I propose that we don't need a working group. We just need a repo.
Right.
Yeah. Anybody who's interested in working on this is in the working group, and they'll do that by participating in the repository.
I think that's good. Rather than finding.
Okay. But with that, we would agree there needed to be a formal process of responsible individuals.
That's right. As soon as I have that to be able to put that out, I will put that out for discussion, and then we potentially have a work come out of the active participation in that discussion.
Sounds great.
Yeah, well, that's something one gets notified.
You take that?
I just asked D-Shot to, once the repo is set up, just to notify the group so we can start chiming in on the discussion.
I will post that to the advisory board.
Can we make sure that that link is also in the minutes?
No, I think we mean this repo, the issue when Dan files that initial issue. He will link that.
Denise, what are you saying?
I'm saying, can we also make sure that that URL for how to participate goes into the minutes?
Say that one more time.
Can we make sure that the URL for the GitHub repo makes it into the minutes as well?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, that concludes our agenda.
Yeah, but I do this.
Is there any other questions that we want to discuss, whether it's from the community at this point, who are listening, or from the group, before we get to a further session where we're going to enumerate other activities, do a little bit of a deep dive into some of these discussions.
Sorry, well, can you repeat the question again?
If you want to know if anybody from the community had comments.
Anybody
Just
from the
kind of
community?
open the main stuff.
Oh, I see. Okay. Is there anybody on the live hangout? Have we publicized it?
Kristen.
I just feel
I
like
don't know if anybody joined.
I was talking that the engagement would become a little bit more open and available, and a little bit further.
Hey, Chris, Chris, can you hear me?
Yeah.
I'm just curious, how was it sized and how would anybody in the community know about it?
That is a good question, and something we can better do next time.
Yeah,
I mean, I think
it needs to be tweeted from @minimum Node.js,
Yeah.
and probably retweeted by everybody in this group. Between the bunch of us and our the company accounts that we control, we have like several 100,000 followers on Twitter. Like, it'll get out.
Yeah.
It's also added to the minutes.
Yeah. Well, the former URL, or yeah.
So is the minutes from this because people want to go and see what the discussion was?
Yeah.
I did put out an email to everyone yesterday with the URL and the connection of it to whatever is appropriate channel to put it out. He also connected in to moderate and get this to go forward. Definitely to be identifying the best way to get the message out for these, as well as also use social media and be able to create true sentences.
Yeah, I would suggest, hey, Chris, suggest probably 3 days before the next meeting, once we have all the logistics established for the Google Air and for any dial-in numbers, that if you want to post that to our email distribution list that we're all members of, then we'll have that information and we can tweet it through all of our accounts or Node.js as well.
So, so 2 days before the next one, I think that we have everything and sent out to everybody.
Okay.
Hey, Chris, one quick question related to that. Whoa. Sorry. Getting a lot of feedback. Let me switch.
All right, I'm on the bridge now. They're not here. Chris, if it would help, I'd be interested in helping you with that dry run of all of the logistics a couple of days before me, such that we're not trying to do it in the first few minutes of the meeting that starts. So let me know if I can help that way.
TJ, is that you?
That's Eric.
Eric, okay. Yes, Eric, that would be great. All right. Any other things in closing?
Anybody going home? Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Accidentally unmuted anything else instead of unmuting my phone.
I'm going to stop the broadcast. Thank you for anyone in the public. We're going to switch to sort of a private session at this point. All right. Thank you.